Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Ben from Endseeker to talk about Mount Carcass, out April 16th on Metal Blade Records. How's it going?
It's going fine, thanks.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk about the new record, to talk about the band. But before we get started, I really like the wall of guitars behind you. That's super cool.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, this is my office. I'm in home office for like 14 years now or something. So I built this little man cave around me where I have all my guitar stuff, and so this is where I hang out all day. So I want to be surrounded by stuff that I like, which is basically guitars.
It's definitely better than people.
Absolutely. Guitars never disappoint you, they don't let you down.
Yeah, exactly. The first question that I have for you is, for those that are not very familiar with Endseeker and obviously haven't heard the album yet, can you give us a little bit of the behind the scenes in terms of what the creative process for the band was coming into this record?
Sure. So the original plan for 2020 was to tour with our latest album, The Harvest, which came out in September 2019. But then, unfortunately, the COVID thing happened, and all our 30 plus shows got canceled, and all our tours got canceled. And pretty soon, we were sitting together in our rehearsal room and talking about, yeah, what are we going to do? Are we waiting this out? Because nobody knew how long this would take. I personally thought, well, okay, this is over in 2 months or whatever. uh, I was wrong,
Slightly.
but yeah, slightly.
Slightly.
Yeah, just a bit. But pretty fast we agreed on, no, let's just do something. Let's write new songs. Let's be creative and see what happens. When it opens again, we can tour, and if not, we're just writing a record. So we ended up writing this record, and since we had no distraction from touring, weekend shows or whatever, or any private shit, since nothing was possible, we were totally focusing on songwriting for, I don't know, 8 months or whatever. And that was pretty new for us, because we were used to writing records between tours and shows and being busy all year. But we really enjoyed it to just stay in this creative bubble and just focus on the songwriting and pre-production and stuff. And that was great. It was great working atmosphere, and it was great for the band spirit. And so we ended up with these 8 songs, and here we are.
Is the process behind putting an album like this together a democratic process, or is one of you guys that kind of takes the lead?
Yuri, the other guitarist, he's the main songwriter when it comes to the music. He writes the majority of the riffs and puts together most of the demos. I do just a little bit. So I did like 2 songs on the record. He did the rest. And when it comes to the lyrics, I'm more involved. Like Lenny and me, we share like writing the lyrics and working together on that. And I did the whole pre-production, like the vocal pre-production and stuff. And so at the end of the day, it's always a team effort, because the songs only come to life when the 5 of us like standing in the rehearsal room and finally arrange everything and do the fine tuning here and there. And but yeah, someone comes up with the basic idea, but at the end we all have to work it out.
I thought that, moving now into the title of the record, Mount Carcass, I thought this is the most appropriate title for an album being released in 2021. Does the world around us impact you guys in terms of the creativity that went into titling the album Mount Carcass?
Sure. I mean, we're not living in a vacuum, we're like, we're all grown-ups, and we're aware of like politics and all the global shit that's going on and stuff. And it doesn't only affect us as a band, since we're not able to tour and stuff, but also affects us like on a personal level. And like we're all locked in with our families and stuff, and the work progress changed for most of us. Not for me though, since I'm in the home office anyway. So I'm the godfather of social distancing, but
You were doing it before it was cool.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so yeah, you know, like we talk when we're together, when the five of us, when we're together, we talk about a lot of stuff that's going on, shit that moves us, you know. And so like the global, the state of the world and stuff, that definitely was a big part in creating the record, writing the lyrics, and also like creating the cover artwork, and finding the album title. And it's all connected, you know, because that's so present for everybody, the whole pandemic thing, and everything that comes with it, and also those civil unrests and whatever, you know, like people going on the streets and ending up in violence and stuff. This is so present for everybody, and of course we're affected by that, and this record is definitely inspired by that.
Is there one element on this album that you feel like it sets it apart from the previous records?
Yeah, I think it's probably the two mainly political songs that are on the record, which are "Merciless Tide" and "Count the Dead." Like we've had songs before that had like social topics and stuff, but they were more hidden and more covered by metaphors and stuff. But this time, since the situation is so different and so unique, we just felt the urge to speak out clearly and just like get things off of our chest now, and just to release some of the stress and tension that has built up within us. And yeah, so this is probably the main difference um, on the lyrical side. And on the musical side, we just tighten it up a little bit. We were more progressive on the Harvest. There was more, the song structures were more complicated and more parts and more, yeah, I don't know. I think it took the listener more effort to get into the record. And this time everything is more dense and more straight and in your face.
And speaking of dense, straight, and in your face, I thought one of the best things about this record was the fact that it has 36 minutes in length, 9 songs. It's the old saying of less is more. At least for me, I felt that way listening to the record because it doesn't become overplayed. Like you don't feel like you're bored by the time you get to the end of the album. You actually feel like you didn't have enough. So you want to listen to it again. Uh, the idea of having 9 tracks, making the album really compact in tracks and in length. What do you feel like that adds to the playability of the record? Do you see it the way I do, that it makes the album better?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. That's exactly the same impression that I have when I listen to the record. I think it's the perfect length. And when Escape from New York is done, I really want to press play again, want to listen to it again. Because we decided on making a, so to speak, short record, because like death metal records, when they are too long, they just stress you out. And nothing is worse than a record that either is stressful, like at the end, that you like get out of this stressed or bored. So these are the two worst impressions that you can leave with your record, and we didn't want that. We wanted a, yeah, as I said, a straight in your face record, and that's compact.
Does this album can this album be defined by a genre? I know it's a death metal album, but listening to this record, I had a hard time pinpointing just death metal. I didn't want to call it just a death metal album because I don't think that that really does a service to the overall record in terms of the playability that it has. Do you feel like this is an album that can be defined by a genre, or you guys pulled influences from different places?
Oh man, I mean, like we listen to a lot of music, and at the end of the day, all of this somehow inspires our riffing and our songwriting. You know, depending on what bands we're listening to at the moment when we write songs. So you have like elements of Slayer and Morbid Angel, a lot of Gorefest, a Bolt Thrower, and then all this Swedish stuff in it. You know, it's a lot going on that is like transformed into our version of old school death metal. You know, like with the genres, it's it's difficult. you can label things on so many ways, and everybody would call it maybe slightly different. And some call it Swedish death metal, some call it old school death metal, some call it European death metal, because it's different from most of the stuff that's called American death metal and whatever. It's just but we have thrash elements in there. We might also have some black metal elements in there, like on the melodic level and stuff. I don't know. I don't
A
really
waste of
care
time,
too
right?
much about labels. It's just I really would just call it death metal and that's it. Because
Yeah, it almost becomes an exercise in futility. You spend more time trying to label the music than you do enjoying it, so might as well just listen to it.
yeah, but for some people that's really important, and oh, that's not true death metal or whatever, like the death metal trueness police or whatever, but everybody has a different approach to music, and that's fine, and if somebody if some people need music to be labeled in a certain way, that's okay, but we just don't follow any rules,
Mhm.
because music, like rules, is nothing that has music has nothing to do with rules. It's the opposite of it. It's the absence of rules. You can do whatever you want, and that's also the way that we feel. We started out with like being very Swedish on the first records, but then we let more influences get into our songs, and because we just, yeah, it's fine, we listen to other stuff too, and if we want to put it in there, hell yeah, we gonna put it in there, because it's our music and we decide what we do and what is, well, yeah, what is cool and what's not.
Uh, Going through the record, besides the playability, besides the length, the time, all of these things, one of the interesting aspects to me is that I felt like the songs connected well together. Like they had a lot of similarities, but at the same time, the songs felt very different. So it was kind of these two opposite worlds coming together. They sounded, or they felt from a construction perspective, that there was similarities between them, but at the same time, the sound and the experience that you get, it's quite different from track to track. How do you merge those two worlds, creating an album that has a sense of similarity, so you have this red line all the way through it, but at the same time, song number one does not sound like song number two, and vice, and so forth and so forth.
To be honest, it just happened. There's no crazy master plan or whatever, or mathematics. It's just we just we're just, I don't know, a bunch of guys writing songs. That's it, and we're sitting at home riffing around, like putting up some demos, programming some drums, show to the other guys, and then we meet in the rehearsal room and play this stuff together. And at the end, eventually a song pops up, and that's it. And all of a sudden, it were like 8 songs plus the cover version, and yeah, and that was it. I mean, like, as I said, it just happened, Like when you speaking about the second song, which is like a Merciless Tide, this is actually the only song in the whole band history that we created by standing together in the rehearsal room and jamming.
Wow.
So somebody came up with a riff, and then everybody's just started playing, and then, wow, well, what about this, and let's try this and that, and whatever. And then we had like a rough song structure that we worked out, like on detail at home, but like the basic idea just came up in the rehearsal room, and we never did that. Normally somebody works out something at home and brings it in then, but this is the only song where it happened the other way around, which was pretty interesting. It was a great experience. It was fun. So not because it was like far off from our normal songwriting routine, and it was fresh and was cool. And I really enjoyed that. And I think you can really, or at least me, I can hear it in the song that it has some kind of spontaneous element
Mhm.
in it. And yeah, but this is maybe one reason why song 2 sounds very different to song 1, but and this goes on through the record, and depending who writes the majority of the riffs for one song, because you and me, we're writing pretty different riffs, but it still sounds like the same band somehow. So we really always find a way to connect our ideas very good together.
Do you have a game plan as far as the guitar sound, and what do you want out of your guitars when you start to work towards a record?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I'm a super guitar nerd, and I'm a tone chaser. You know, like I'm never done searching for the perfect guitar tone, and I have like they're like seasons where I use a certain sound, and then after a while I started looking for, oh, is there anything new? Is there a new pedal or a different amp or whatever? Can I switch the pickups and the guitar? And so when we recorded the Harvest, we were using a distortion pedal from a company in Berlin, KMA Audio, and they built like an HM2 clone, which is called Worm, and we used that on that record. That was great. That was awesome. But now for this record, you know, this other company popped up, Cleartone, with the Grindstein pedal, and I got that and I fell totally in love with that. So I switched my setup and I recorded with this time. So for this record, this is our sound, and but I have no idea what the sound for the next record will be, but we'll see. You know, we're always looking for stuff because it's exciting and it's inspiring when you get a new sound or you find a new sound. You get inspired to write different stuff or more riffs, or you're just fueled to play. You know, just it makes you want to play more. So yeah, the search is never over. It always goes on.
Do you feel like the guitars on this record, they're a little bit of the igniter of the album? They push the record forward, they push the tracks forward. I don't want to call this a guitar-driven album because I think that takes away from all the other pieces that make the bigger picture, like the drums and the bass and the vocals. But do you feel like the guitars on this record have a little bit more of that motion that really catapults the album?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a very guitar-heavy record, and the guitars are way louder than on the previous album. And the guitar sound is so. I'm so happy with this guitar sound. It's so massive, and it's like a tank rolling over you, and it has a completely different feel than the Harvest. The Harvest was more. I don't know. Maybe the sound was more technical, I'd say, but this is more organic and more. I don't know. It's just different, but it really touches me, and it works very well together with the other instruments and with the very natural drum sound that we created this time. So the drums, these are all real drums. There are no trigger signals on it. It's just the pure guitar drum sound. So it was the whole recording process was very analog, I'd say, compared to the other
It has
albums.
a crunchy sound.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's I don't know, it got balls.
Yeah, it hits you in the face. It smacks you hard.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
it's great that you get the same impression. You know, it's like you know, you can sit in the studio and tweak the knobs and whatever, you know, and try to create the best guitar sound possible for you. But there's a possibility that nobody else out there gets it, and it's like, wow, well, it sounds like shit, you know. But,
that could be really not disappointing, but it would be frustrating considering
yeah,
how much effort and time you've put into it.
I mean, like there are bands who had like weird sound decisions in their history, right? And like talking about Metallica. I mean, they made like weird sounding records. It didn't damage their career though, you know, like it propelled them up to the summit. But the sound of some of the albums is pretty questionable.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And staying with the theme of the guitars, was there a specific song on this record that gave you gray hairs on your gorgeous beard?
No, it was all there before, you know. It's the gray was there before we started songwriting. But you mean like with gray hair, you just talking about like something that was very difficult,
Yeah,
or
like
something?
something that gave you a little bit of a hard time that really made you, dig deeper.
Well, I was working a long time on the arrangement of Count the Dead, to be honest. There was yeah, in the middle section, I had a different part in there before, so and I was working around a lot, and um, until it had the shape that it has now, it took quite a while. But I say like the rest was really, at least from my side, pretty simple. I think Yuri had some points here and there where it took him a little longer to get to the result where he was happy. But as I said in the beginning, the songwriting process was really easy compared to the other records. It was, yeah, the record just wrote itself, so to speak.
One last question for you, and that is, with the album around the corner, I mean, we're really talking about days before this album sees the light of day and the fans can enjoy it.
Finally.
Finally, I know for you guys must really feel like it's Christmas all over again, you know,
Yeah.
like the release date. What do you hope fans get from this record?
I mean, like, the best that I can hope for is that they enjoy listening to it, you know, just when that they get something out of it and have a good time listening to it. And because that's what it's about, right? Like, we're writing songs and putting it out there, and we just can hope that other people like it too. And when we get the feedback from people like, oh man, I listened to your record, it's great, and it's like, okay, cool, that's awesome, you know. Just like, we didn't have that much feedback yet because the record isn't out. We just received feedback from the journalists so far. You know, I just had another interview today with a magazine from Greece, and he really liked the record, and it's great. You know, it's like very few feedback that we get, but the reviews are coming in and they're all pretty positive and stuff. But what we're really looking forward to is the direct feedback from the fans when they bought the record, and I gave it some spins. And this is what it's about, especially like the long-term fans, you know, that were there from day one. We know a lot of those fans personally because we meet them a lot on tour and stuff, and we're really excited to get their impression, because they made all the progress together with us from the first EP to the third full-length album now. And yeah, we really hope that we keep them, you know. I mean, you know how it is. Some people just don't agree on everything that a band does, or like every direction that a band moves into. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that we don't lose that many fans from the old days.
I don't think you're going to lose any, but I always say to people that have that kind of approach that, hey, if you don't like the album that came out today, listen to the album that came out 3 years ago. I mean, it's still there. It's not like it's been deleted, so you can still always go listen to something else. But
Yeah,
I don't
right.
think you guys have much to worry about as far as the quality of this album and your fan base. I think you're safe.
Thanks. Thank you very much. That's nice. Well, you know, like deep inside, you always have like those fears, you know, like, because nobody wants to hear from somebody who walked all the way with you, you know, like, oh, your new record is shit, you know.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's you just don't want to hear it, you know. I
Yeah.
don't.
I,
It's
I, I can understand, like I said, especially considering all the time and effort that you guys put into the record and how much love you have into the album. You hope people feel towards the record the same way you do.
right. That's true.
And I
That's
think that's going to happen. Like I said, I don't think you have anything to worry about. You can sleep at ease. You can sleep at ease.
okay. I try. Well,
Well,
I
Ben,
think I sleep way better when the record is out. You know,
yeah,
it's
well, you don't have much longer to wait. So I think after that you can kick back, listen to it again, you know, maybe have a beer while you're at it, and just enjoy the fruits of your labor.
yeah. I'm really looking forward to that.
And on that note, I want to thank you for your time today to chat with me about the record, about the band. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time, Ben. All the best to you and the guys in the band, and best of luck with the release on April 16th.
Thank you very much. Thanks for taking your time. Thanks for featuring us. I mean, I've seen your album review and the reaction to the Unholy Rights video, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. It's a
Well,
pleasure to meet you.
thank you. My pleasure. Take care.
Okay, thanks. Bye bye.